What are you doing, Brett? Time to start the show.
Oh, sorry. I was just admiring a blue-footed booby.
I didn't know they were in this area. That's impressive.
My second favorite bird after the titmouse.
Yes. I wonder why. I
I'll
wonder
put
why.
these down, though. We've got some important things to discuss.
We sure do. And it's nice to be in this fine fall setting, isn't it?
Beautiful out. Beautiful day.
Just before the snow flies.
Not here.
All right. Hello, non-sports fans. This is Sports Poser. I'm here on the bench with my good friend Brett, much like most of my sports career in high school. Just enjoying my time here on the bench again. A little nostalgic. So, Brett, let's talk sports. And you know what? Given that it's fall and it looks like this outside, kind of, let's talk about college football.
Yeah, the NFL kind of stayed about the same this weekend. There's not a lot of storylines except Joe Burrow getting out for the year, the
Yeah, that
Cincinnati
means their
Bengals quarterback.
season. Yeah.
But yeah, nothing major happened. The big game tonight, Kansas City versus the Philadelphia Eagles, which is the rematch of the Super Bowl. But yeah, college football. So I don't. Did you hear about James Madison?
Yes, they're kind of an anomaly, right? Smaller school, or at least not that kind of tier one type sports school, right? And they're 10-1 or something like that, I think I'd heard.
Yeah, they were undefeated. So ESPN took their game day set, which is on Saturday mornings on ESPN. They pick a college town and they go to it, and of
Wow.
course students get all liquored up, and it's quite a scene, and it's a big deal. And they went to James Madison this year because they were undefeated, and they were making news because even if they win all their games, they still can't make a bowl game, and so everyone's really pissed off about that.
It seems pretty unfair, right? Because like little schools can make it in like basketball in college, right?
Yeah. So here's the explanation, and I don't think I knew this. So there's an FCS and an FBS. The B is the big teams, the C is the rest of the teams. There's actually 130 of each team in each league. And so Texas, Alabama, they're in the big one, and then James Madison and other small schools are in the smaller one.
Okay.
If you want to move up, you have to offer more scholarships. To get from the FCS to the FCB as a small school, you've got to give out 85 scholarships instead of 63, which gives your program more good athletes, and it gives you more competitive team with better athletes. So James Madison wanted to transfer from FCS to FCB so they could be a big time school and play for a national championship, just like everyone else wants to, right?
Attract a lot
But
of students and grow the school. That's awesome.
totally, right? It's huge publicity. We're talking about it now, but there's a transition period the NCAA has ruled, and it's 2 years. So the fact that they just said, all right, we want to be in the FCB, they have to wait 2 years before they're actually qualified for it. And now this is being exposed as complete BS, and everyone's pissed. And I suspect the NCAA will change it, but that's what all the hullabaloo is about, is the fact that they're just getting screwed because they're transitioning from a small school to a big school, so to speak.
And there's a lot of schools that are 10-1 right now. Is that right?
Yeah, there's 5 teams 10-1 and 5 teams 11-0, and only 4 teams play for the championship, which we discussed is so cool that next year it'll be 12. So all these teams that are in the mix here will have a chance to play for a championship. Some of these teams, there's 5 undefeated teams. If 5 of them end up undefeated, there's going to be a team that's 12-0 that's not going to have a chance to be the champion, which is totally not what NCAA wants.
Right. Yeah. So who are the 10 teams that everyone's been beating up on? Because if everyone is 10 or 11-0, did they all play the same sorry teams, or is it a pretty mixed bag?
Well, like I said, there's 260 teams. So
Wow.
the whole thing originally was to have those teams, like James Madison wasn't playing against these big teams all the time and getting their ass kicked. So they developed a smaller league so that more like sized and skilled teams play each other.
Right.
So they're not going traveling to Michigan and getting pounded, or Alabama, so they can makes it more competitive.
So this is like the polarization of talent. You're kind of seeing what you see in a lot of other sports too, where you start to see heavy concentrations in it, or has that always kind of been the way it is?
It's always been that way. If you look at the top teams, it's the same. It's a roll call of all the same schools you always hear: Michigan, right, Alabama, Texas. In this case, Florida State, Washington Huskies is kind of a new one. But you're going to just see with 12 teams making it next year, it's going to be way more interesting because more teams will have a chance.
Right. Well, that's what you'd want, right? You want some parity, but you also want to give everybody who's worked hard and built their programs to get a shot.
Can you imagine starting your season and your coach is getting you all fired up? Like, all right, guys, no matter what we do, we have no chance of winning the championship. So
That's why you can't be a coach, Brett.
I
That's
mean, what the heck? You can't even be honest with it. I don't know. It just seems like counterintuitive to what sports actually is, in my opinion.
nice. Yeah, it is. And it's a little frustrating. I get it. All
Yep.
right. So Tiger Woods is in the news. What's going on there?
Yeah, last week we talked about Phil, right? Phil used to be the golden boy, always smiling and he's happy-go-lucky. Tiger's laser focused, just mean, and
How do you
nobody liked
smile that
him.
much when you've lost $1 billion is what I want to know.
I know. Well, it's sort of reversed. Now everybody can't stand Phil because he's proved to be kind of a jerk. And then Tiger's gone through so much crap and everybody just feels bad for him. And everybody's rooting for him because he was he was incredible, right? Like one of the greatest athletes that we ever saw. And he had this huge downfall, drugs and car accident and divorces and you name it. That poor bastard's been through the ringer, but now everybody's rooting for him. And he's playing for the first time in several years. In a couple weeks in the Bahamas. So it's nice to see him back playing competitive golf.
I saw something about his son winning like a high school championship. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you. I was gonna say something about that. His son was on the Florida high school, his high school golf team, and his team won the state championship. So
That's
he's
cool.
already done something his dad has not done. His dad did not win a high school state champion.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Charlie Woods. He looks just like Tiger. His swing looks like him. I mean, he's going to have a nice career. So it'll be interesting to follow him.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, NBA.
The old guys are still doing good in the NBA. LeBron is shooting the best he's ever shot this month. I just read that he's having his best shooting month in 20 years, and he's almost 40 years old.
40?
That's amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Steph Curry's well into his mid 30s, 36, 37. He's averaging 30 points a game, completely dominates the game with a bunch of younger guys every night he's up against. And then Kevin Durant, who you probably have heard of, is well into his 30s, and he's second in the NBA in scoring. So you add Tiger Woods playing in his late 40s, you've got some old guys that are still competing at a high level, which is nice to see as a fellow old guy.
Yeah, right. Gives us hope. It's interesting across sports, like you see people like Tom Brady and stuff like that. You do have a lot of new young talent out there, but it is impressive how these people are able to stick around much longer now, it seems.
Yeah, they old guy strength.
Old guy power. All right. Very helpful. Thank you for the update. Looking forward to going to work and pretending like I know what I'm talking about. Perfect.
Don't forget my Bryant Bulldogs, where I graduated in 1991. Speaking of small schools doing something great, they had their first win ever against a ranked team in basketball. Florida Atlantic was ranked 10th in the country, and Bryant went to Florida and beat them. Bryant Bulldogs used to be the Indians when I was there because, things like that didn't matter when I was young. But it's always nice to see a small school win, like the James Madison, the Bryant universities. And then now everybody gets pulled up by this and everyone feels a part of it, right?
Yep, absolutely. That's cool. Well, congratulations to Bryant. And I know it probably had a lot to do with you. That's awesome.
Yep. They played the same gym I played intramurals in. That's how it went.
Fantastic. Way to set the tone for the future.
Yeah, I was Beta Sigma Chi's point guard from 1989 to 1991.
Fantastic. That's awesome.
You gonna ask me about Thanksgiving football or no?
Yeah, who's playing on Thanksgiving? Is it the same team that always plays on Thanksgiving?
It the same every year. It's always Detroit and Dallas.
Yeah.
And it started in 1932 because the owner of Detroit wanted to use it as a time people weren't working, and they used it as a time to make some money, obviously a money grab. And surprisingly, no one else did that until the Cowboys did it in the 60s, and then they jumped on it and said, we're going to host a game too. So that's where the tradition came from, and that's why you see the same teams playing, because they sort of started it, and it's become a tradition. So, other teams get to play once in a while, but Detroit and Dallas always host those games.
It's not going to be a tradition is watching the Lions lose on Thanksgiving.
The Lions came back and won. I know you like the Lions. They came back and won. They were down like yesterday and came back and won, and now they're in first place. So, yeah, the Lions, the Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Eagles are the only four teams in the NFC that have any chance of winning anything. Lions, Eagles, Niners, Cowboys. One of those four teams will be in the Super Bowl. I will bet. No, I won't bet my life on it, but I'll bet yours.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for the high regard for my life. I appreciate that. All right, my friend. Well, have a good week and have a good Turkey Day, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. And we look forward to seeing you next week. And Keep an eye out for those boobies there, Brett.
Titmouse. It was a titmouse. Easily confused.
Very good. All right, amigo. Enjoy
Happy
your
Thanksgiving.
You
Happy
too.
Thanksgiving, y'all.
Yes, y'all. Posers.
Oops. I'm gonna stay back on my bench.
Yeah, you do. You get too big. It's those boobies that got y'all fired up.